I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now, but we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted.
Her speech doesn't sound remotely natural here. It's stilted, she stutters, and her pauses are not at natural intervals. So I'm wondering if perhaps this part of the narrative was someone else's idea and she's struggling with it, or if there's other reasons why she's struggling so much. What I did notice is at the start, she uses an I statement. This is a breakaway from the rest of her narrative, which is all we. So she says that she appreciates the search efforts. I suspect that's something that she has come up with just there on the spot as a lead-in to her comment about the Amber Alert, because she's trying to be nice first. But the way it comes across is all wrong. The way she's stumbling over it makes me think that she's really uncomfortable with the fact that there's all these people out searching for her children. And I wonder if that's a sense of guilt that she's feeling because she knows that they're not out there in the woods. And she's aware of these people who are exhausted and are getting injuries, etc. She does specifically refer to it as a huge search effort, but she also has this bit of a slip up, and because she is stumbling and stuttering, she starts calling it a huge surf. I would overlook that normally, except that we've had so many bizarre references pop up from both her and Daniel that relate to water. So I just thought I wanted to point that out. Now, when she starts talking about the Amber Alert, she switches back to using we statements, which to me says that she's back onto the agreed narrative. So this whole thing about there not being an Amber Alert is clearly something that's been agreed upon by all of them, or both of them, however many of them were organising this whole narrative in the first place. She's reached the goal here, pushing for the possibility that these children were abducted. Thing is, I don't think this part of the narrative was her idea, and I'll explain that as we go along. So, like I said, she's gone back to using we, so it's an agreed narrative as far as I'm concerned. So she says, we've been pushing for an Amber Alert which hasn't been issued. So it's a pretty strong statement. It's we think the children were abducted and nothing's been done. But it's the we statement. But she's really not sounding very convincing here. And her speech gives away the fact that she knows the children weren't abducted. It's a major slip, and she tries to fix it, but she might as well have given up then and there, honestly. She says, not just that they could possibly be abducted. There's a lot of uncertainty. Not just they could possibly. All that says to me that there's no conviction there whatsoever. I mean, you hear possibly on its own. That generally conveys the idea that, well, it's possible, but probably not. But then when you add could possibly, so now you've got these two words that both convey uncertainty. So she might as well have just said outright, not that they've been abducted. I can tell you this now, they've not been abducted. But she screws up. She hasn't realised what she's said here. She hasn't realised that her choice of words here has given away the fact that she knows those children were not abducted. It's like someone saying, well, I'm 50% sure that it happened. Or even when someone says, well, I'm 90% sure. generally that means they're pretty certain that's not happened. And this is what her language is telling us. She knows those children were not abducted. And I think at some level she does realise what she's done, because she does try to fix it. She goes back to the we narrative, the agreed narrative, and she says really, really quickly, which it is a possibility that they could have been abducted. But again, she throws in could and possibility, which again pretty much undoes what she's just tried to do. She's still conveying complete uncertainty. She's using words that show that there is a complete lack of certainty over it, and in fact that she's more likely believing that they definitely have not been abducted. It's like her brain has kicked her out of the driving seat and said, let me deal with it. I'm going to tell them what's going on. She's got no control right now over what she's saying. You know, this goes back to what I've said so many times before, and that is the brain does not like to lie. It does not like to deceive. So it will hijack what you are saying and will throw in words that basically let the truth out. And that's exactly what's happening here. And her complete lack of conviction over the possibility of the children being abducted, that's what says to me that this part of the narrative was not her idea. And I'd say to her, it seemed like a pretty dumb idea. Either that, or she is your typical neurodivergent person who cannot outright say a lie. Here's the other thing about her statement though. Her and Daniel have both made statements which give the impression that they think that the search effort is a complete waste of time.
I know they can't go forever. I mean, there's search and rescue workers searchers that have already been injured. They've spent so much resources. I mean, resources doesn't matter at this point, but I mean, everybody's tired. There's some people that I don't think they even went home.
Now, what I'm going to bring up next, I was considering this even before I heard Daniel make that statement. I was considering it just from Malehya's statement, but what Daniel said brings it to mind even more so. He says, you know, they can't go on forever. The searchers have already been injured and they've spent so many resources, and you can tell his brain's gone, oops, that's not sounding like a good idea, given that they're searching for Lily and Jack. So he backpedals a bit and resources don't matter at this point. But he doubles down anyway with everybody's tired and some people haven't even been home. You know, at this point, he should be glad of the searchers. He really shouldn't give a rat's ass about if they're tired or anything, because he should be like, I want them to keep searching until the children are found. But that's not the case here. Both him and Malehya have conveyed it pretty clearly that they think that the search is a wasted effort. Now, I'm certain that, especially going off Daniel's statement, I'm not the only one that saw the similarity here.
We have to do one step at a time, I guess, but I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, you know, and I feel for them.
Seriously, is there like an online handbook or something that these people actually can get hold of and read? To hear parents expressing more concern over the searches rather than the fact that the children haven't been found, and concern over the fact that the children are still out there, is a huge red flag. Massive red flag. You know, in both these cases, they were so positive that it was an abduction. They weren't concerned with ticking all the boxes. Well, maybe it's an abduction, but we just want to make sure that they have covered every inch of those woods, just to be certain that it's not the kids who wandered off into the woods. If they truly had no idea what happened to these children, they would be wanting every stone turned over. They would want people to search every single millimetre of those woods. as well as look into other possibilities like an abduction. And how could they be so certain that the children aren't in the woods, especially when the RCMP have said, no, it's not an abduction. There is no sign of an abduction. We do not believe it is an abduction. And yet they are happy for the searchers to all go home because they're getting tired and they're a bit sore. And Malehya's like, oh, we appreciate the huge search effort, but I'm sorry. If they were my kids, I'd be like, get more searchers in. You haven't found them yet. So I'm actually not that appreciative. Are you doing your job right? Have you got enough people in to search? How about if people are getting tired, how about if you get some people in from another area to come and search? But that's not what we are hearing from either of them. And here's the thing, there's only 3 possible scenarios here. 1, the children wandered off into the woods and got lost. 2, someone came onto that property and abducted those children. 3, foul play on the property. Something happened to them in the house or in that backyard. Now, if these people are innocent, and they know they are innocent, then with the RCMP saying no abduction, there's no sign of an abduction whatsoever, why are they so negative about search efforts? Because basically, if they are innocent and they are convinced of their own innocence, then that only leaves the 2 possibilities, abduction or woods. And the RCMP are saying, no, not abduction. That leaves woods. And yet they're like, yeah, we want an Amber Alert. All these people are getting injured. We appreciate the efforts, but, we're not bothered. But when you listen to what Malehya is saying, for her it's not even about the suggestion that the children have been abducted. No, it's about letting people know that the children are missing. Ironically, what she's done here is she's basically poo-pooed the search efforts, they're not needed, tried to push this whole idea of an Amber Alert, but her language has shown her that an Amber Alert isn't really necessary in terms of she doesn't believe the children were abducted. She's just ruled out 2 of the 3 scenarios. She has essentially said here they're not in the woods. They didn't wander off into the woods. They weren't abducted. That leaves only 1 scenario. That is that something happened to those children on the property and that the adults who were on the property were responsible and know what happened. But going back to her, I want people to hear from the Amber Alert that the children are missing. Why is she saying that? Well, we know that there was a post from her father on Facebook complaining because he had to hear it on the news or on the media or social media or something. And I think that is a large part of it. This is her reaction to him not having found out until he saw it on Facebook or something, and him being upset with her for not telling him. But digging deeper, what exactly is the issue here? She is saying she doesn't want to have to tell people herself that these children are missing. Now, if you were genuinely concerned about your children being missing and you had no guilt over the matter whatsoever, you would want to be screaming it to the whole world. You would be ringing everyone you know. You would be calling in the cavalry. But she doesn't want to do that. To me, that says that she doesn't want people to read her guilt or ask her questions. When you know you're involved with something, when you know you've done something wrong, you don't want to face up to the people closest to you because you know they can read you like a book. And I think that's exactly what's going on here. She wants that Amber Alert out there so that she doesn't have to face anyone who knows her, because they just might be able to read in her body language or in her speech that these children weren't abducted. These children didn't walk off into the woods. She's wanting an Amber Alert not to get help from the public, but so she doesn't have people getting in contact with her, and so she doesn't have to go face to face with anybody to tell them that the children are missing. She's not once made any plea on behalf of the children. We want an Amber Alert out there just in case someone sees them. You don't hear that at all. That's not why she wants it. Not once in the entire interview does she express concern for the children. But this one statement that she's made, how she appreciates the search efforts, but she wants this Amber Alert because she doesn't want to have to tell people herself that the children are missing. That is a massive red flag, if you ask me.